Well, voters in BC are going to have to wait a better part of a week to find out who their next government will be.
This has been a night where we have seen the political landscape in British Columbia change forever.
We got to do better. And that was our commitment to British Columbians. We got to do better, and we will do better.
Keeping in mind 47 seats are needed for a majority. The NDP are currently leading in 46 ridings, just one seat ahead of the Conservatives, who currently hold 45. The Greens are leading in 2, and there's at least 2 ridings that are headed for a recount where the NDP lead by less than 100 votes. Lori Turnbull is an associate professor of political science at Dalhousie University. I know she was watching this weekend. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so counting on this first round, we should let everybody know, has officially ended. And according to the Elections Act, the final round can't start until October 25th. That includes those recounts. So wasting no time, BC Premier David Eby says he's already reached out to the Green Party. What will his next few days look like?
Well, I think probably ultimately he's hoping that those recounts go his way. So, maybe he'll pick one up. I think he's probably at least hoping he doesn't lose any. And so he'll speak to the Greens about what is this going to take to put together something stable so that when he eventually does go to the legislature, he knows that he's got the support to get through the speech from the throne. I think what he's going to want is to be able to do something kind of like they did in 2017, where they came up with in a similar situation where nobody had a majority and the Greens ended up being the decision makers. He's going to want to form some kind of agreement of confidence and supply so that he knows he doesn't have to try to court the Greens with every vote, which is going to be precarious. He's going to want to know that they're kind of working with him on a more solid basis so that it's kind of like he has a majority, even though he doesn't.
BC Conservative leader is calling his party's performance historic, rightly so. What could their week look like?
Well, okay, so they're going to want some of these recounts to go their way. And I think what Rustad is going to want to do is kind of remind people, we got 45 seats here. We almost tied. And so even though we're coming second, even though David Eby and the NDP are going to have the right to form the government first, they're going to have the right to give it a try. I think he's really going to want to push the fact that the Conservatives, as he says, have made history here and that they are in a position also to, in the event that the NDP can't do it, they're big enough, they're strong enough, they might be able to put a government together. I've heard that he's talking a bit about, maybe there should be another election if the result here isn't clear enough. And I think part of that is because there was some vote splitting on Saturday because when they did that merger between the BC United, formerly the Liberals, and the Conservatives, some didn't come on to that. And so there were some independent candidates who ended up splitting some votes in some ridings, and then the riding went to the NDP. So I think Rustad is probably thinking there are more votes out there for me, and with another election, I might pick them up.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, whichever party forms government, they will have an advantage really of only a handful of seats. So what could governing look like in a polarized legislature like that?
Well, I mean, it might be kind of messy, right? Because we've got 2 parties here that, again, have almost exactly the same result. We're talking 1 seat here. These are 2 parties who do not agree on very much. And so it could be really a sense of the legislature being pulled in 2 different directions all the time by pretty equal blocks. If I were Eby, what I would want to do is get the Greens on board, get into the legislature, choose a speaker, which they have to do. That has to come from somewhere, so that makes the numbers even closer. And then get a speech from the throne, get through it, and then meet the legislature as infrequently as possible. Now, that's not what I want, but if I were him, that's what I would want, just to try to take the temperature down a little bit, focus on getting things done, as opposed to being in there in the weeds of it and going back and forth with the Conservatives all the time, because this is a really close result, again, from 2 parties who I don't think see eye to eye on very much.
Yeah, no, certainly not at all. We're going to have to wait until after the 25th, as long maybe perhaps even as the 28th, to find an official result. And I know we'll chat then. Thanks, Lori.
Thank you, too. Take care.
If you liked that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.